Alright, what is going on YouTube? The first set of Empire Wars Duo 2 coming in here, Running and Rise, Serious Consequences versus Ybati, Dark and Rapid. Over here with me is T West, who also made the maps for the tournament and makes quite a lot of very fun YouTube content. Unfortunately, this is not gonna be a pacifist run today, so we can get going with the first game whenever you're ready.
Who knows, maybe one team will win so hard the other team gets 0 kills.
It's theoretically possible. So I'm paused at 1 second. Whenever you're ready, we can get going.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah, go ahead.
3, 2, 1, and go. Alright, so welcome everybody to the first game of Ybati versus Serious Consequences over here. Dark and Repard, Ybati as yellow and red to the left side of the map, with Teutons for Repard in red and Vikings for dark in yellow. Whereas on the other side, you're gonna have Running as Slavs in blue and Rise as Chinese in green. How do you feel about these civilizations?
I like the Vikings and I like the Chinese. Teutons and Slavs don't strike me as the best Empire Wars civs. I like the Chinese ability to go camels in this matchup to counter the Teuton Knights.
Yeah, that is indeed the case. What I love about the Chinese versus Vikings matchup over here is that oftentimes we discuss that there is very few civilizations that can match up with Vikings, economy-wise. But if there is any that might be Chinese, they have so many good bonuses for them, even though they don't start with extra villagers.
Yep, and this is the old patch, so the farm bonus still is a flat plus 45 food instead of plus 10%.
Exactly, and speaking of starting with more villagers, Rice is actually gonna start with less because that is -2 villagers. Repard and Dark, they teamed up their scouts and they went in for the kill. 2 villagers go down over here quickly from Rice.
Yeah, they picked off that wood line. There's still one Vill out there trying to wall himself in.
I think he's just stuck here.
Out there.
Or he was trying to escape potentially, but he wasn't able to. Scouts coming in from Running and Rice though towards Dark's base, so there's a chance for retaliation over here.
There is, but it looks like there's some walls that are going to go up there just in time.
Exactly. This is the old patch, and also the old Arabia. We'll be using the old Arabia throughout the tournament, so it is way less open than the current version of Arabia.
Yeah, and hopefully less buggy too. I don't think we'll have maps where players have 0 wood lines.
Yeah, possibly. Or at least I hope so. You made the map pack, so you are the one to blame if there is a bug.
So. Well, I did make the map pack based on the old DE Arabia, so if there's a bug, I'm going to blame that version of the map.
So,
if Hidden Treasures is broken, you can blame that on me, but not Arabia.
Looks like we have a very huge commitment from both Repard and Running into Scouts. Big scuffle in the middle that is being won by Repard. And we also have to mention that Running actually had to abandon his gold mine entirely. Although at this point he would probably be just farming anyways, but that gold mine is still wide open.
Yeah, and Rise has now, his archers are in the middle of the map without Running scouts nearby, and looks like he's going to take some losses there.
He will. He at least got 2 archers from Dark over here, but indeed, bit of a miscommunication maybe between teammates, as those archers were just wide open, and we talk about this a lot in the 2v2 meta. You just have to keep your archer numbers high. That's the key to victory.
Yeah, we saw Running was doing some running away from the fight, and Rise was still trying to fight, and he got caught out of position there.
We have Bloodlines coming in here for Running. Looks like he is going to commit pretty heavily to this Feudal Age aggression. There is also Forging on the way. On the other side,
this is a pretty big commitment in Empire Wars, just because you have to spend so much gold on it that it's going to make it really difficult for you to click up to the Castle Age quickly.
Exactly. On the bright side of things, you are going to have a chance to pick off a lot of villagers, or potentially win a scout war if you ever get to the opponent's base. Looks like Running is going to lose another villager over here, as he was trying to get a tower up. That was, I think, before Bloodlines, so he took a somewhat unfavorable fight over here at the beginning.
But he does have Bloodlines now, and he does clean up all those scouts.
He does, indeed, but in exchange, Repard is gonna be able to click up. We did talk about Chinese and Vikings on how similar they are, and if you look at the other side, there is also the Teutons versus Slav matchup, so in terms of the sort of identity of the civilizations, the two teams have chosen very similarly.
Yeah, they are pretty similar. I think the main difference here would be the Chinese with their ability to go camels and to go for the Chukonu as their unique unit. Berserks can still be a good unit, but they don't quite work in a team game the same way that an archer unique unit does. Especially when you have the Teutons as your ally, who's already going to be doing the melee unit.
By the way, we also have the Slavic Dream. As you said, Chinese team bonus still plus 45 food on the farms. And you also have a Slavic player over here that's really capitalizing on that farming. Running had to make a defensive tower, so that's going to delay his additional town centers. And it looks like both players from Dark's team will actually beat their opponents to Castle Age. Running is actually beat them pretty heavily here.
Yeah, and pretty difficult map for Repart here, as he's not going to be fully walled. This Arabia is more open than the Runestones Arabia-like map we had seen in the ranked map pool. So he needs to do that tower to defend his farms. Scouts are still going to get in.
They will. I think that's still an okay thing for Repart. He actually took down the numbers to a pretty low quantity, but those are still scouts with full heal upgrades. Bloodlines +1/+1.
And with bloodlines. For some quick walls, at least.
Nice quick walls over there from Repart, indeed. This is what Running has to capitalize on. As we got Villers B with the gift sub to eFlam. Thank you so much for the gifted sub. I appreciate it.
And quick wall just in time to stop those scouts from getting in on that wood line.
Exactly. Very nice quick walls.
That gold.
Very nice quick walls so far from Repart. He's playing really strong here. He's known for being a good player on closed maps, but so far, the execution from Dark and Repart here were slightly better. Castle Age is in, and it looks like Dark's crossbows will probably march straight towards Rice's base. In fact, they're already hitting that wood line over here.
Yeah. And that's after having split off a few crossbows also to move over and defend Repart's base. Running had continued making scouts, spending food on them while he went up to castle, and he just lost a few of them to those crossbows over there.
Exactly. And now you have 27 crossbows for Dark over here, only 18 for Rice. There is going to be fast ballistics here for our green player. Meanwhile, Dark actually delayed the university and went for triple ranges. That's why he has so many crossbows.
Yep, well, same thing. Both players now have 3 ranges out.
Looking at a red ping over here, looks like they are planning to hit the gold mine over here for Rice, which is definitely open for aggression, especially with Running just reaching castle.
Yeah, I see lots of red dots running across the minimap, and I don't see any blue dots, which makes me think Repart is going to be a lot more aggressive than Running here, and Dark's going to have to defend 1v2 for a bit.
Exactly. There is triple ranges from Running, so reinforcements are on the way, but it's going to take some time until he can actually solidify control over that gold mine. Luckily for him, he's got a backup gold mine on the right, and his base is also open from the right, by the way.
Yeah, kind of risky from Rise, though, running out with his crossbows. He might have a slight numbers advantage right now. I think Dark probably needed to run a bit before taking that fight.
Exactly. Big archer war over here. I'm not really a big fan for this one for Rise, and he realizes that that's a very bad idea over here. But he lost way too many crossbows there.
I think that fight went actually pretty well for him because Dark didn't have his army grouped up. But still, I'm kind of surprised at moving out there.
Yeah, nice move from Running, though. He intercepts a group of crossbows on the left, and that is a vital thing. Looks like we're gonna have Running just going straight towards the base of Repart, because they know that Dark right now is on the right side of the map, so Repart is wide open for attacks.
Yep. That pick off of the crossbows is a pretty huge advantage for Running, because now they're not really going to be able to pressure Running's base.
Exactly.
Running has 3 stables up compared to the, looks like 2 right now, Repart.
Exactly. Repart has 1 extra melee armor on those knights, but in exchange there is forging for Running, so it evens things out. And now our blue player has the chance to just run into the base of Repart, fitting to the name of Running.
Yeah, Repart again, his base is not fully closed off, and those knights are going to get in, and they're going to do a ton of damage to him.
Crossbows, on the other hand, about to hit the gold mine of Running, the only gold mine that he has access to, so while this damage is pretty critical, I would say, at Repart's base, the villager count is still that even, and now it is our blue player that's off from gold entirely.
Yeah. We see all these players on the north of the map still on 1 TC, and it's the archer players who have managed to add in their second TCs.
Looks like all the crossbows are heading towards the base of Running over here. That's where the party is gonna begin.
Yep, and here's the crossbows and the knights from both players coming out of the stables and taking a really nice fight here.
That's an excellent fight indeed. Dark has Stumbring, and he's trying to run for the hill, but the numbers heavily favor running and rise. And those reinforcements are just a little too late from Dark over here.
Just out of position there. His armies still look pretty even.
They are. Looks like Running's Knights inside the base of Repar do get cleaned up, so the villager count at the end is dead even. Although the cavalry player for Running's team actually has a higher villager count. The one that really took over in Vil count, though, is Dark with Vikings, and that's always a disturbing sign.
Alright. I'm still not familiar with Capture Age. I don't know where to see the villager counts.
Right on top.
Oh, they are.
Right on top, my friend. So, as you said, 2 TCs for both archer players.
Is there an overchop on the right side of this wall on Rise's base? There is.
There is, and it looks like we do have Dark and Repar now having a chance to run into Rise base. Rise has to do a mass migration here. That's gonna be an awful lot of idle time. Oh boy, that's so many.
A lot of dead vills too.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of dead vills. No one, like, there's no way you can fit all those villagers inside a TC, and at this point, it might be worth just trying to pick them off with the crossbows from a distance.
Yeah, and let's see, the knights from Running are going to come down. This army is trapped in the base. It will be forced to take a fight. The question is, how many villagers can it pick off before it has to fight, and how well can it trade?
Exactly. I feel like the key thing here is preserving the archer numbers of Rise. We talked about that in 2v2 because it might be some idle time, but honestly, trading 30-ish crossbows from Yellow just before he would click up to Imperial might actually be worth the idle time here if Rise can keep his crossbow numbers high.
Yeah, and here that army is going down. They get in, they do their damage, but they get cleaned up pretty quickly.
They do indeed, despite the fact that now it's fully upgraded crossbows from Dark, and he just clicked up to Imperial, which hurts even more now, because he's about to lose half of the army that he was planning to upgrade.
Yeah, as the archer player, it's so important to keep your archers alive right before you get those power spikes, because now you're not going to have that power spike. You have to run back towards your base as you're going up to Imp.
Yeah, luckily for him, he still has the production. It's just the Vikings power over here. Still 36 crossbows available for him, and he's the only player that's at least close to clicking up to Imperial. Anybody else, very, very far.
Yeah, and Repard still, his base is not fully walled. He is wide open around the south side and around the back to the west. And Running is running his knights over in that direction.
Exactly.
Maybe trying to pick up a few more vills.
He might be able to... Those are Teuton town centers, so each can actually garrison 25 vills, which obviously helps a little bit for Repard. And it looks like Repard is launching counterattack to Running space to try and hit the gold mine.
And here's Dark, not walled either, tries to get the quick gates up, but doesn't get them in time. And he will lose a few vills, but those knights should get cleaned up.
Exactly. At this point, it might be better for those knights to just try and trade off the crossbows, because those are going to be arbalests in a matter of moments. The crossbow numbers are just rising very steadily over here. Huge amount of crossbows coming in here from Rise, though. If they want to take a fight, this is the time to do it.
Meanwhile, at the north, Repar has been trying to get into Running's base, but Running has been fully walled. And he has one TC on the north that's open, but he can garrison that and keep that safe.
Exactly. At this point, Dark is using that town center very, very nicely to just try and contain the army of Running and Rise. Just wait a little bit more until he has Arbalest, and it looks like he will be able to preserve his numbers.
Okay. And Dark has a lot of archery ranges at the front of his base, going to take really good advantage of that Viking economy to do Arbalest and then push with them.
Yeah, the villager count is still even, but Dark is an Imperial. Arbalest and Bracer is coming in, and there is no tools for Running and Rise to stop that anytime soon.
Yeah, and Dark does have 9 ranges pumping them out.
Yeah, that's a brutal count. So, is this the time when you just try to finish off Repard and just hope that sort of Dark is going to be too slow to help him? You sort of know that Dark at this point could potentially steamroll Rise, but your best bet might be to just finish off Repard.
Yeah, right now you can't fight this army of Arbalests, so what you want to do is move your army to places where the Arbalests aren't, and try to get them to chase you and not be active in fighting. If you're
And
able to wall off your base just so you know the Arbalists can't go forward, then you're in a good spot. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're heading towards Repard's base.
yeah, that's a very, very nice idea over here. And probably in the long run, once the archer and the cavalry players are all in imp, the cavalry player is probably more valuable. So at this point, as you said, running and rise have to be proactive. Just try to sort of finish off Repard, or at least cause a lot of damage. But that doesn't seem to be working right now. Most of those knights are barely killing anything.
Well, I think the key is that they have the Arbalists back here in Repard's base instead of forward pressuring either of them. And the key for the Arbalest player is getting that power spike as soon as they hit Imp. And if the Arbalists are back on the other side of the map trying to clean up army, that's much better than them being forward and pressuring you.
That is absolutely true. We do have markets being set up as well by Dark over here. The main concern, I believe, for Rice's team now is that those Arbalests are chasing the crossbows, and at some point those crossbows will be trapped and they might just die, so Rice will lose all his numbers.
Yeah. And Dark has so many Arbalests that while he's cleaning them up, he's also moving forward towards Running's base and also has a group forward attacking that gold on Rise's base. So he's all over the map with his Arbalests.
Exactly, and really Running Space could have some troubles here, because that gold mine's gonna be very exposed. Panic Tower coming in here, but that's not gonna help much.
Yeah, especially since the Arbalests have enough range that they can just sit outside the area of the towers and still hit that gold.
Beautiful fight for Dark as well. It looks like he's even able to reach those crossbows partially from that hill, so he is going to clean up all the crossbows for Rice just before he would click into him. Right now, Dark is at almost 70 arbs. I think all he needs is just some siege rams for Vikings over here.
Yeah, siege rams. Of course, always kind of awkward to push the Chinese with siege rams, but when they only have one castle and it's at the front of their base, you can go for it.
Exactly. Imperial Age coming in here for Rice, but obviously right now he's on the back foot. And Dark's armies will start marching forward quite relentlessly now. 70 arbs is just a brutal count.
Yeah, and it looks like Rise probably is going to be out of the game. I don't think there's much he can do to get close to the Arbalest count of Dark. It's really going to be up to Running to get enough cavalry out to deal with the Arbs.
Yeah, but like he's constantly forced to take bad fights over here because, well, he has to protect his gold mines. Those knights will just die to the orbs because those orbs are fully upgraded. They have Thumb Ring, Chemistry, +4 defense. So, really, I don't necessarily see Running getting up to Imperial anytime soon, and that's a problem right now for his team.
No. Oh, I have a question for you. What are the rules about slinging in this tournament?
You have to be an Imperial to send resources. I think we use the
send,
same...
but not to receive?
To send. If I'm not mistaken. I am not 100% sure. I'll have to read the rulebook again. But we're using the same system that 2v2 World Cup used. I remember that.
Yeah.
The whole concept...
I was going to say, like, from Rise's position, it might have been beneficial to sling Running to try to get his knight numbers up, but I didn't know if that would be allowed.
We'll have to check that, but I would say that that is, I think, a possibility. Still, the whole concept of the slinging rules was that you don't really want to see slinging in this tournament. Dark's team taking the victory over here as they kind of realize that, well, it's 64 orbs. There is a castle up here as well from Dark that secured that gold that otherwise belonged to Rice. Rice is still 1.5 minutes away from Imperial with little map control. Villager count is more or less competitive, but the army numbers are decisively in the favor of Dark's team.
Yeah, and that's the strength of Vikings' economy on Empire Wars.
Yeah, that is why it's so rough to have Mayans and Vikings against you. Remember that draft? Because you had to snipe one of those. Mayans could probably do the same thing because while their economy is slightly weaker, they have cheaper archers.
Yeah, Mayans and Britons also with their faster producing archers and the fact that they can basically choose when to fight and when not to fight with their extra range.
That is true as well. Dark, 37,000 resources gathered. The second highest in the game was Running with 29,000. So Dark's economy was light years ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, look at and all that wood and all that gold.
Exactly.
Running, of course, with the extra food from the Slavs, but still can't compare to Vikings.
Exactly. So, quick strike over here from Dark's team, really leveraging the Vikings in this one. So, Vikings, it's going to be a victory for them over here. And Teutons also snagged their first victory of the tournament. Whereas on the other side, we're going to have Slavs gone and Chinese gone for the team of Running and Rice. Ybati takes game number 1. What are your thoughts about the upcoming map over here?
So what's the next map? Forest Pond?
Whichever they choose. So they can choose whichever home map they feel is better for them.
Okay. I don't have the map things on an overlay here. Let me open up your stream and take a look then. Oh, there it is. All right, so it's either Forest Pond or Golden Pit. The order they picked the maps doesn't matter. They can pick either of their home maps.
Exactly. So you can go for either of those.
I don't know much about the playstyle of these players and how much they like water maps or how much they actually like want to play water on Forest Pond. It's kind of an interesting map. You could go for docks or you could go for like the fast castle. And Golden Pit is more of the standard map that we're kind of familiar with from all the years of seeing Gold Rush games.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a much more standard map and a much more sort of unique one. Looking at their civilizations, they do have Burmese, Koreans available, so there is definitely some good civilizations for them for Forest Pond. Considering that they picked Burmese, I kind of have a feeling that they might prioritize that map, especially considering that they sort of lost on the standard Arabia map, so they might want to go for something more unconventional.
Yeah. Uh, let's see. So they had the mines but that got sniped because I was thinking mines are typically one of those saves you want to play on Golden Pit because of the strong unique unit. And I think Berbers, Vietnamese could be decent picks for Golden Pit. It's only those unique unit saves that you want. But I guess the same thing could be said about Forest Pond because you have such an advantage of going for that like one TC castle play and pushing through the palisade walls. Like if you go Castle Age against someone who tries to go water, you will probably kill the player who goes water, but that's a trade-off because then you won't have fish.
Oh, looks like it's going to be Forest Pond. I'm ready when you are, so
All
we
right,
can
just
do.
a second. I always forget I need to leave the game in the game before clicking
All right,
button.
it's fine. But it's gonna be Forest
Uh,
Pond, so it looks like they're going for the more unconventional map selection over here.
all right.
All right, are you ready?
1 second. Capture age is loading. All right, I'm paused at 2 seconds.
All right, then 3, 2, 1, and go. So welcome
Okay.
to Forest Pond over here, as we are gonna have dark as yellow Italians over here. To the south, to the left is going to be Rapard as Spanish in red. We're going to have Rice's Byzantines in green and blue for Running as Burmese.
So we do see the Burmese pick. So the question is then, are Burmese going to go water with their... They do get the wood bone upgrade for free, which is nice. Or are they going to prioritize going to the Castle Age and go for some Arambai push?
So, I would say that probably it's going to be an Arambai push. We have seen this map in two pools, as we have a double docks opening here for Running. But obviously two pools is a random map tournament. This one is an Empire War, so it's very different in many ways. And it looks like there is going to be Running and Rise prioritizing water quite heavily. Burmese have a nice lumberjacking bonus here with the free double bit axe, so they can definitely afford double docks, and that's what Rice is doing as well.
Yeah, we see 2 docks from Running Rise versus 1 dock from the other team, and also a fire galley opening versus a single galley fishing ship opening.
Looks like we're gonna have some very early stonewalls here for Rice. So they are afraid of a Spanish potential castle drop over here. We have seen that a lot in two pools.
Very
That
much.
both the Burmese player or potentially Korean, Spanish, they think about castle drops. Repard is gonna pick off the scout of Rise, but the stone walls are coming in for Rise over here. He doesn't really have that set up very well. There's some gaps in it. He probably didn't have the scouting for it just yet.
Yeah. And meanwhile, on the water, only one player going for fishing ships, and that's Repard. Everyone else going for either fire galleys or galleys. And Repard's fishing ships are going to go down pretty quickly. His team doesn't have the water control to protect them.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's very surprising he's committing this heavily to fishing when it's pretty obvious that they're getting outnumbered on water, especially because there is not a lot of space to maneuver here with those galleys. Looks like that investment into fishing ships isn't gonna pay off.
Yeah, and he still has another fish queued in the dock about to come out, but he cancels it just in time.
Yeah, exactly. Fishing ships all going down, but so will the galleys. And this is the time when I think Running and Rice will have to start capitalizing on the water control, because they invested a lot more into that. And as you see, Repard is already mining stone and on the way to Castle Age, so he has to potentially think about a castle drop here. That is why Rise is actually walling himself off.
Yeah, getting the stone walls up are super important if you go for that water control, because it's going to prevent the conks from getting in as quickly.
Exactly. In fact, I think the bigger deal here is that you prevent the castle drop. Because, as we have seen on two
Yeah, you prevent
polls,
it being forward.
if you get a castle in your face, there is just no space to fall back to. So, you could easily get trapped within your own base, and might just be forced to do a mass migration.
Yeah, interesting. I see Dark here, not just abandoning the dock, but walling off the entire inside of his base, worried about a landing.
Exactly, because if you think about it, you can just transport a bunch of villagers from Running here and drop a castle from the pond side. This is why this map has so many ways that you can play it, and Rice, look at that, he's already dropping the second layer of stone walls.
Yep, and that castle is going to go forward on that first layer of walls.
Yeah.
And he's just going to be fat slobbing up this side of the map. Needs to be careful not to use that tree as part of the walls, as then Repard could just chop that and go through.
Is that still a thing? I think they actually changed something on that.
As long as you have the villager there, like, you can chop the tree and build the foundation over it. You just can't do it from halfway across the map.
A bit of a spearman scuffle over here, Repard adding some just so that a random knight or two cannot stop his villagers.
Yeah. Or
And-
a bear. Those three spearmen really doing a good job on that bear.
Rice is going to be pretty slow getting those stone walls up here, and he might have some trouble from that, because if you're a Repard, you might want to just directly open with a petard, just to make sure you can get through those walls very fast. And remember, it's still feudal age walls, so they're not as powerful as castle age walls, although they are Byzantines, so they have 1080 HP.
They do, and the Vills are going to start hacking away at that wall with the castle behind it. And when you're in the feudal age, you really don't even need that, like that petard right now. I'm sure one of them will just automatically go through the wall, but the petard I think, could be good for breaking through the second level.
We haven't
But with
talked about the
castle
other
and
side.
villagers firing at it, that wall's just going to go down.
Exactly. We haven't talked about the other side, because there is crossbows coming in here for Dark, and he is almost denying a TC over here that comes up just in time to secure the stone. Defensive siege workshop on the way as well. It looks like Running just wants to boom here. Some demos as well from Rise just to secure the water. But really, there is not much water control, and not even any intention from Repard to push the water.
Yep. And now would be the great time for the petard to get through that second level of walls, and we see it queued up in the castle.
Yeah, that's gonna be the rough time over here for Rice, especially because those gates are very, very weak. They don't have their armor now, as long as they're foundations, so
Right.
it's much harder to keep them alive, especially against high damage output units like Conquistadors.
Yeah, and one petard should just be enough to destroy that completely, if not take it out. And
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Looks like they're going through.
Yeah, the conks are coming. There is double monastery defense over here for Rice, second TC, third TC coming in here as well, so he's gonna be here in a nice and acceptable defensive position, I would say. But obviously, he's gonna have very limited map control.
Yeah, exactly. What we're gonna see here is if Repard can control the front of this map, Rise is not gonna have anywhere to run unless he tries to transport or go along the tiny coastal area. This is the risk that, if you lose to this forward, it's not like you can keep running away and keep part of your eco safe. It's your eco is entirely in this very tiny area of the map. That makes it easier to defend sometimes, but if you lose, then you really lose hard.
Exactly. There's another petard as well over here for Repard. In the meanwhile, Dark is actually pushing up with crossbows and mangonel, so he's gonna play this aggressively. Whereas for running, it looks like he's actually thinking about the defensive castle and Imperial Age right away.
Yeah, and that's I think how you definitely want to play this game if you're the team who loses water. You know the other team is invested into the water, so you want to make a quick investment onto land before they can take advantage of the fish.
Indeed, another monastery coming in here, as the Burmese bonus will start kicking in here. That cheap redemption on the way for
That's
running.
true.
Still,
Cheap redemption is a really nice upgrade for the monks, just because you can stop mangonels with it so easily.
bit of a miss micro there from Dark, losing a mangonel to TC fire, as now his
Losing some
crossbows. Oh
to
boy,
mangonel fire.
yeah, that definitely didn't help. And if running is just able to secure like half a minute of time here for himself, then he can get a defensive castle up. Mangonel also cleaning up the crossbows, and the monk looks like the mangonel got deleted before it would have gotten converted.
And that's the power of that Burmese cheap redemption. We see double monastery defense as the conks run around and try to snipe the mangonel and a monk.
They will be successful doing so, as now they will try to run inside the base of running over here. The crossbows, on the other hand, also switched sides, and now they're heading towards Rice, but with 3 TCs he should have no trouble to hold this. But the Imperial Age is definitely delayed here from running.
Yeah.
Rookstack Rapport still continues with Conquistadors over here. He is booming on 4 TCs behind this one, and there is 3 as well for Dark. So the economies are still relatively close.
Well, I think at this point in the game, you need to look at the fish and realize the fish are really going to start running out. I mean, look at how far away from the docks those fish are. Forest Pond doesn't have as much fish as you might think when you first look at it. So sometimes winning the water, if you invest in fishing ships too heavily, you'll have spent a lot of wood that at some point in the game just kind of becomes useless because you'll stop getting food income.
Exactly. Obviously, you can add fish traps, but as you said, especially now, the efficiency of that fishing eco is not amazing. You can definitely try moving a little closer with your docks to the middle of the pond. So, delete the palisade, walk in through this one tile passage.
Walk there.
And that's usually what teams do to get a little bit more efficiency in the middle. As it looks like there is going to be a couple of peaceful moments until Imperial Age starts kicking in for Dark, and he's going to have the crossbows plus bombard cannons with Italians to push with.
That's true, but if the Burmese player can get up to imp themselves, they're going to have... Oh, don't lose the monks there.
Oh, disaster.
I was going to say, they're going to have block printing to counter the bombard cannons because the Italians don't get siege engineers for the extra range, but there go the monks.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about the relic situation, because it looks like we have 3 relics at minimum on the side of Repart's team, and they also have Spanish for the Spanish trade later on, so a very long game actually favors the team of Dark and Repart here.
That's true. Now, you always have to remember the good old days when Arabia was played by full walling and then using the Spanish trade bonus. It's one of the strongest team bonuses in the right situations if you get to that late game where you're trading.
Yeah, it's about getting there. Monks taking a fight here against the crossbows, and honestly, that was surprisingly good with the support of the Mango. Not a single monk died.
Yeah, there's enough monks there that once they get the conversion, they start healing each other. And that's when the crossbows start having trouble if you don't have a large number.
Repard is gonna get a castle up here on the side of the pond. Do you think it might be worth it for him to just try to go back on water now? And just, yeah, exactly, that's what they're doing. Dark is also adding some ships over here. It's not about destroying the fish anymore, it's about sort of exposing the back of the opponent's base.
Yeah, it's about seeing if you can get those cannon galleons out as the Spanish, right? Because they're going to have those OP cannon galleons with projectiles that don't move slowly.
Yeah, looks
it's
like
actually kind of comical watching normal cannon galleons. They're just slowly drifting their cannonballs through the air.
looks like we're gonna have bloodlines being researched here by Repart. So, with forging also being added, one has to think if there is gonna be paladins added eventually by him. There is sneaky
What?
villagers from Repart on the top. That's what he's going for. He probably wants to deny the trade from the opponent here.
Yeah, and we see the outpost heading up there by Rise. Maybe he knows something might be up with the villagers after he lost the walls, but here come the stables, and you're right, we probably will be seeing some paladins coming out here.
Yeah.
And has Rise managed to spot this?
He got 2 Conquistador conversions, but he doesn't see the stable just yet. On the other hand, looks like those stables will be converted into barracks, and it's probably gonna be champions, because there is already pikemen, soon to be halberdiers out for the...
Here's the bear and the converted conquistadors, though, that are gonna clean up these villagers.
Oh, that's sad for Repard. That is definitely sad. So, that forward isn't going up over here. And at this point, this game seems to be as close as it gets. There is gonna be markets already being set up by our warm-colored team here.
Yeah, there still are, though, a few conquistadors running around the back of their base, and that's going to be so annoying because what does Rise have? He has pikemans and scorpions. He can't catch them. And what does Running have? He has monks and mangonels. He can't catch those.
Oh,
those
Running!
counts.
Dark, what is he doing?
Dark.
Oh, the crossbows. He's an imp, but he doesn't have the arbalest upgrade or any bombard cannons to support. That was a massacre. And I was just about to say...
too aggressive there before he had the bombard cannons.
Yeah, and now the monks are coming to convert the siege workshops. It's not like you have forever to wait here. That's a nice bombard cannon shot, and it looks like the monk also gets picked off, but most of those crossbows are dead now.
Yeah,
Running actually...
This is where the monks become so important for Running here, just to keep those bombard cannons away from his onagers.
Conquistadors inside the base of Running over here, and they could find a lot of good kills on that wood line. They broke in, I think, on the right side, and Running was probably too busy microing his onagers here, and that's going to be quite a few dead vills.
Yeah. Quite a few dead vills, and I don't think Running has anything to go and clean that up. He's just going to lose that wood line for a bit.
He's going to send 5 monks, indeed, and with the TC fire, that might be enough. Those monks also have block printing, so it's almost impossible for the Conquistadors to get in range before getting converted.
Yeah, those conversions are just not happening, though.
Yeah, they take quite a lot of time, but finally the 2 conversions happen.
Yeah, that might have been some micro there. I don't know if Running misclicked his monks.
Now there is quite a lot of bombard cannons, and we could see Running getting the man-at-arms upgrade, so he was thinking about champion onager here, but it looks like he's switching to maybe elephants?
Yeah, well, what we don't see is a lot of arbalests, because they've all been killed by the onagers.
Yeah, all of them have been slaughtered right now. If you look at the KD, that's probably pretty brutal. Yeah, Dark has killed 30 units, lost 64. Far from ideal. And now he's the one getting pushed back over here. So...
Yeah, and now Running has a few conquistadors to add in with his Arambai, so we're going to see the 2 unique unit combination here.
Yeah, and we also have a condottieri coming in, Spanish condottieri on the left side, probably to battle the halberdiers, and the answer is going to be chiropracts from Rice.
I forget now, dude. The condottieri still have a resistance against the bonus cataphract damage?
That's a good question.
They might have at one point, but I think they separated out the gunpowder from infantry into separate classes.
I would say that Cataphract is supposed to counter condottieri.
The catas do full bonus damage? Alright.
So, that's gonna be an interesting one.
Spanish, of course, don't get any bonus on their condottieri, but they do get all of the blacksmith upgrades for them.
Exactly. There is gonna be halberdiers as well for Rice. The Chiropracts are pretty decent with their upgrades, missing Iron Casting still and Elite. I think they're also missing Logistica, whereas it looks like Repard is also mixing in some Paladins. Almost full upgrades for him, getting fortified while preparing for a long game over here.
Oh, that's what you want as the Spanish, right? You want a long game, you want your fortified walls, and you want your trade to kick in.
Exactly. So, Elite
But one
Rambai
thing I
on the
don't
other
like
side.
is Repard put his markets behind the forest, where the trade's going to be pretty inefficient. I think he should have started them a few tiles up to the north.
Yeah, probably. But that applies to running as well. He's about to put it in the corner there. One thing that's surprising is that both Dark and Repard are very low on trade card numbers, despite the fact that they have the markets up for a long time.
Yeah, it can be hard to decide where you're spending your resources, especially if you're losing your Arbalests and you need to rebuild them.
Indeed. So gold is going to be a luxury soon, as the Condottieri arrive on the right side. Elite Rambai will perform pretty decently over here, though.
Yeah, they will. They'll do a good job against the Kandi, but not against the Paladins.
It depends on numbers, I would say. But yeah, indeed, the Condottieri will die to the Arambai. Paladins depends on numbers, but it's not gonna be resource efficient for the Paladin player for sure.
Yeah, and as this game goes on, I'm really liking to the position of Dark and Repard here.
Yeah, although that's gonna be quite a few Paladins going to turn green over here. Looks like both Rise and Running are gonna be pretty heavy on Monks here. Left side, we have the Catapracts pushing forward, multiple defensive castles from Dark over here, and this is where we have to talk about the fact that Genoese crossbows don't really stop Catapracts that well.
Well, Cataphracts don't have much pierce armor naturally, but the Cataphract also completely negates all of the bonus damage from the Genoese crossbow.
Exactly.
So, like, they're still a good unit, but they're not as great as they are. The crossbows aren't as great as they are against Cataphracts as they are against most other cavalry.
Exactly. Now, Running is about to lose a castle here. Halberdiers are popping out not a huge amount of archers from Dark, but there is nothing really from Running and Rise that can destroy archers either.
Yeah, well, there's enough halberdiers there, and the archer numbers are small enough. I think they can just kind of run forward and try to fight the paladins.
Are you?
Dark is just slowly but surely getting more and more trebuchets out.
Exactly. I really like how he hasn't stopped producing traps. He just wants to steamroll the base as fast as possible. Multiple other castles coming out for Running. Who needs those castles for a Rambai production?
Yeah, and I think Repar did a very good job there of not actually taking a fight. He was just running his paladins back and forth in front of the archers. And that's one of the things we see nowadays. Like, the Nightline isn't actually meant to take fights. It's just meant to dance in front of archers.
Another castle is gonna be exposed over here, as Running is about to switch into elephants, but that's where the Genoese crossbows come in very, very handy, because they will melt those elephants.
Oh, yeah.
Paladins trying to run past the castles here, but that might have been a little bit too ambitious, although some of them will get past. Halberdiers will have to deal with them, and that's just a distraction for Running and Rise here.
Yeah, I think that Running is just slowly but surely going to lose this side of his base.
As we have fire ships arriving from the water side by Dark, so now would be a good time for a couple of cannon galleons just to sort of push that dagger even deeper.
Yeah, it would be. We saw that Repard put this castle on the water earlier, but he hasn't really gone for any docks afterwards. Because Cannon Galleon now, you don't need to research the upgrade, you just need chemistry, and you can make them instantly. So that's a pretty good buff for the Spanish on the late game water.
Exactly. Now we have the Paladins increasing in numbers up to 46 Paladins. Archer numbers from Dark aren't particularly amazing, but he kind of feels like he's investing a little bit more to his economy. He's got 33 trade cards. It could be one of those situations where he just has a smaller army, but he will just sling a bunch of gold to his teammate, as we have maybe the deciding fight of the game.
There's a castle going down. The monastery with the relic in it should go down.
Arambai finding a very, very nice choke point over here, and the Genoese crossbows or the Arbalests aren't focusing down the Arambai here, so those are still alive. Looks like the elephants will actually do the trick, because there isn't really enough Genoese crossbows here anymore.
Let's see, I think you might be... Also, what time are you at? I think you might be slightly ahead of me somehow.
36 minutes in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm at 36:10 right now.
Alright, I'm at like 35 in my game. It looks like it is.
Yeah, it might be.
Speed up.
It might be a little slower. There is going to be some issues with that, but you probably now see that there is a cleanup over there. That is a massive cleanup, and I did mention that Dark is going to invest less into his army and more into his eco. That might have just backfired, because if there was like 15 more Genoese crossbows there, that could have been a different matchup.
Yeah, the key is having something to deal with those elephants, because paladins are not the unit you want for fighting elephants, and especially not when there's halbs behind them. And all those trebs.
Yeah, all those traps going down, and you have to keep in mind that behind this one, Dark is banking up an awful lot of resources, but that means he's just not using them, really. Whereas on the other side, every single bit of resources are used immediately, pretty much.
Those resources are becoming elephants, and this is quite a large number of elephants that running has stampeding across the map.
And Repard indeed also doesn't have blast furnace.
Dark at all.
Exactly. Dark has actually he has quite a lot of Genoese crossbows. He's massing them partially on the right. He's got a huge amount of castles there. And there is also some Genoese crossbows coming in on the left. Looks like they want to open up the left now.
Yeah, I think they want to take the focus away from this right-hand side where their trade is vulnerable. Like, Dark has these 4 castles that he put into one choke point, a 5th castle even. And if those get pushed, then they're going to lose their trade and they'll lose the game.
Exactly, but how do you even get through that? Those also have 7,000 HP.
Those are Byzantine... Or, wait, no, those are Italian castles. The Byzantines are on the other side.
Yeah, but they still have full upgrades over here.
Got the same architecture.
As Bombard Tower is going to be a thing soon for Dark. So they want to try and finish off or at least solidify their position over here. Mobility is not something that Running or Rise have. It's like Arambai, Elephants, Onagers. Whereas on the other side you have Paladins that can definitely run into the opponent's base.
Yeah, but then on the other side you do have... So we only have stone walls, not fortified walls. So they will be able to break in.
Exactly. And that side is being more and more open now, with barely any army from Rise there to fight this one. Also from the water side, there is now war galleys that are denying wood lines, which is definitely valuable over here at this point for Dark, for a small investment that he has made into them.
Yeah, that's true, but you can always move your villagers towards the outside. On this map, at least until very late game, you should never have a difficulty with taking wood.
Yeah, let's look at the trade card numbers now, because that's going to start becoming an increasingly important thing. 65 combined for Dark and Repard, 48 for Running and Rise. And Running and Rise are in the danger of losing their corner here. Murder Hose! Murder Hose coming in here for Dark is... Now Dark is going to start spamming out those Genoese crossbows in massive quantities. He's up to 64 and he's got 35 in the queue. And as you mentioned, Cannon Galleons.
And that's what you can do with 5 castles in the same spot. You can just spam them out, especially once they're elite.
Song, thank you so much for the host. Welcome everybody from your stream, thank you so much. As we have a good surround over here by Rise. I'm not sure if those Chiropracts have Logistica, I don't think they do. But if they had it over here, that would be a massacre. Yeah, they definitely don't have Logistica here. A situation where that upgrade would prove extremely useful, but it's very expensive over here. Now the Genoese crossbow numbers are starting to get high though, and army numbers swing back in the favor of Ybati. Especially with Cannon Galleons on the way for Dark, who's taking out a castle inside the base of Running.
That's true, but Dark, I've seen Dark losing a lot of Genoese crossbows. Like, he's not being very careful with them, he's just sending them forward to die to a Rambai.
Exactly, although he's got the resources to waste, so to say, and he's doing that quite a bit here against the Onagers.
Yeah, he does have the resources and the production for it.
Paladins are now inside the trade of Running and Rise, but I think the key thing will soon be that the Cannon Galleons will start steamrolling Running space. And I feel like once you open up that space, you will just force your opponent back so much that you can steamroll their production here in the front.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked to have seen Repard being the one going for the Cannon Galleons, though, since he is the Spanish.
True.
But I guess the elite upgrade is cheaper for the Italian player.
That is probably the reason why Dark went for it. Plus, Repart probably wants to focus on Paladins as they open up the left side. Huge amount of Catapracts coming in, though, for Rise. And Catapracts are hard to mass. But when you mass them, they are extremely scary. There is Logistica coming in. Yes, that castle only has 6,000 HP or almost 7k, but it doesn't really have the upgrades. Still, Rice will hold the left side. The right side is more concerning now for running in Rice over here.
Yeah, those Cataphracts doing a pretty good job against the Genoese Expos for a long time, not just canceling out that bonus damage. And the lack of Pierce Armor for the Cataphracts, yeah, it's not the greatest, but they can still take good fights against archer units when they get this round.
Exactly, especially against Genoese crossbows, because Genoese crossbows don't get their bonus over here against them. I appreciate that Dark actually went for Pavisa, which is a very, very good upgrade for archers, and it's often forgotten by players.
Yeah, it gives them extra armor, and that really helps if the melee units get the jump on them.
Exactly.
Take just a bit better trades.
It's not just pierce armor, it's also melee armor, and it's a very, very cheap upgrade, something like 300 wood and 200 gold or so. So for the price, it's a very, very useful upgrade. Paladins are still...
If you remember the other unique tech of the Italians, it's the cheaper trade carts. They have cheaper Spanish trade.
Yeah, Silk Road, exactly. I don't think that it was researched, actually, by Dark, but it could have been useful here. Paladins are now racking the wood line of running, and the main problem running is facing now is that he doesn't really have a reliable source of wood soon. He has to walk all the way back here for wood, because the Paladins are raiding the wood lines, and remember, cannon galleons and galleons denying the ones from within his base. Now there is monks as well for Dark over here to convert the onagers. Bombard towers are coming in, and I feel like this grinder of monks, Genoese crossbows, paladins, bombard towers is just going to start steamrolling the right side of running and Rice.
Yeah, when you get late game, I mean, what do you want from most civs? Paladins and archers, right? And Genoese crossbows are one of the best archers you can have.
Exactly. It looks like all the Catapracts will switch to the right side. That's a scary force, but that's all that running and Rice have here.
Yeah. And remember, the longer this game goes on, the longer our team at the south of the map is going to benefit from this Spanish trade.
Not just the Spanish trade, but just purely by the trade numbers, because they have much higher trade numbers as well. Here come the Catapracts. Those are fully upgraded boys over here. Byzantine is not having Blast Furnace means that these guys have all the upgrades, including Logistica. But it looks like we won't see that fight, because Running and Rise just tap out. Dark and Report showing strengths over here in the second map as well.
They are. As my game has slowed down, I think you're probably a bit ahead of me. But I think it's pretty clear at this point that that this abandoning the water and just going for the aggressive play on land paid off for them.
It very much did. And as you said, their civilizations may have been slightly more suitable for this one as well. Spanish gives you what Burmese cannot entirely give you. So you have a good chance for a castle drop with a unique unit play, but you also have very good late game with Paladins and Spanish trade. I kind of feel the same for Italians here. You have a decent opening on water. You can actually invest into fishing as well very nicely with Italians, but your late game is also very strong. As you said, Silk Road potentially as an option, Genoese crossbows to counter most cavalry civs. So I think the difference here was that the civilizations were a lot more suitable for late game for Dark and Repard.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Italians and Byzantines kind of are similar, other than the difference in the unique unit. But Burmese versus Spanish, you both have that Castle Age power spike from your unique unit, but then the Spanish, as you say, have a much better late game.
And that puts Ybati 2-0 up, one game away from qualifying to Empire Wars Duo 2 over here. Let's go back to the lobby and see what we have left for the final one. That has to be the home map. Oh. The overlay is acting weird. That I can confirm.
Give me a second here, as I'm going to update some things in Capture Age. Let me tab out to a scene that's not going to show the Rex. That one? There we are. Alright, so the next Rex going to be... So how does this work? The losing team always gets a home map, or does it swap to the other team?
Nope. It is always the losing team's home map over here, so we have to go to Golden Pit with Saracens, Huns, Britons, Burgundians, Khmer, Turks and Koreans remaining for serious consequences, and Ybati has Persians, Vietnamese, Berbers, Tatars, Bulgarians, Indians, and Portuguese here. What are your civ picks for this map?
Let me go take a look at the draft again. All right. So I need to check these things off. For Dark's team, I always like strong unique unit civs on this map, like Vietnamese and Berbers. Tatars are an interesting pick for a cavalry civ because they can go for the Keshiks. Portuguese also could be interesting with organ guns.
All right.
For Running's team, let's see what's left. Britons always good on this map. Huns possibility. I'd say Britons and Huns.
All right.
Or maybe Koreans for the war wagons.
I am in the game, so whenever you're ready, we can actually get going.
All right, I'm paused at 2 seconds.
All right. I am ready as well, so let's do a countdown with 3, 2, 1, and go. Welcome to Golden Pit over here. A traditional map for a change. We'll have Dark as yellow Tatars on the right side, alongside the Repard over here as red Berbers. Other side we'll have Burgundians for running in blue, and Saracens for rising green. Interesting combination of civs here, for sure.
Definitely. Saracens look like they would be the archer civ here. We'll see if Rise tries to do any type of market play. Interesting right off the bat, Rise building the archery range on the left side of his base.
Indeed.
Forward.
That's a weird spot to place it in. Sometimes in Empire Wars you just want to place it so fast that you don't even realize where you're at. And that may be the problem here for Rise, as he's running up walls really fast. Looks like he wants to play a fast castle here, maybe with Saracens.
Yeah, wants to play with that market. Of course, that's what Saracens do best. They use the market.
Meanwhile, we have scouts coming in for running. Obviously, he doesn't really want to play a lot of scouts. Just ensure that his teammate has enough time to wall himself, and he does as well. Speaking of walling himself, looks like the final tile is missing, and Dark gets some harassment done on that villager.
Yeah, villager doesn't go down. I think that's probably a mistake from Dark. You don't want to lose the HP on the scout messing around like that.
Exactly, especially now that you run into a spearman. Losing that scout for nothing. Burgundians don't have bloodlines here, so obviously don't want to spend a lot of time in Feudal Age with scouts, as Dark goes for a pretty aggressive opening here with double range archers. Rise just doing Saracen things with that market, and he's on the way to Castle Age.
And of course, if you are Dark, you do want to think about pressuring the Burgundians player and keeping them in the Feudal Age, because it keeps them away from those Cavaliers, and if you force them to go heavy into scouts, they are not going to be able to upgrade them fully. Exactly. As an archer here.
Exactly. The gold mine of running is also somewhat exposed over here. So are some of the wood lines. So there is definitely a lot of damage potential with archers here. Looks like running will try to jump the spearman, then take this fight. But there is scouts as well from Repard. And I think with Berbers, you are much happier going for scouts than you are with Burgundians.
Definitely. And the one thing to worry about here is this gold is not as large as the golds on the other Empire Wars maps. It's only 3 tiles. So if you get pushed kind of by the front of your base, you don't have as much room to run villages around the back of the gold pile and try to keep it safe. You really only have 3 tiles that you can defend and get pushed off of.
Running actually went for some awkward walls at the back over here. He really just wanted to wall himself as fast as possible, but you can tell that this could have been a lot more efficient.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if Empire Wars should start with maybe a few outposts around your base, just so you can see where to wall, while at the same time sending your scout forward.
I would love that, but it would also sort of break a couple of things. We have soon-to-be crossbows here for Rice. He's just now moving out. He doesn't have huge numbers, though. It's only 6 archers, and it looks like it's gonna be full castlage from him. Triple ranges coming in.
Oh, but the crossbow is moving out into the scouts of Repard.
That's a disaster.
That is not what you want to see as the Saracens.
Exactly. And, yeah, sure, those scouts don't have any upgrades, but those are still just feudal age archers, and those precious numbers go down all the way to 3. Which means that...
And you know the problem for Rise here, if you look at his scout is idle, it's not doing anything, it's not keeping track of where Repard's army was, and he got surprised by those scouts because he didn't have vision of where they were.
Yeah, now the crossbow numbers are disturbingly low, and this is where we get to the point where Dark is also triple ranges, he's gonna have fast stumbling on those crossbows, and he can switch it to cav archers, so with cav archers plus the Berber knights, you are gonna have much more mobility than you have with the Saracen crossbows and then Burgundian Cavalier.
You are, and that's a lot of archers that are not going to be picked off by scouts and are going to turn into crossbows for Dark.
Exactly, and as you said, it's already tumbling. Probably with triple ranges, you go for fast ballistics and just play 1 TC for now. There is gonna be +1 defense on them as well. Those guys will be super powerful.
Yep, we'll have to see if Dark prioritizes throwing down the university right away or tries to add in some TCs.
Looks like the last player to Castle Age is going to be Repard over here. Surprisingly, he's only playing with 2 stables, though he could definitely play with 3 with Berbers, but he has other problems that he needs to solve right now.
Yeah, there are finally a good number of Saracen crossbows that can force these walls down right away. You can try to quick wall against them, but Saracen crossbows will get in. You can only slow them down for so long.
Crossbows from Dark hitting Running's Goldmine over here, and while there's a defensive tower here, at this point Dark is more than happy to take some damage and pick off a couple of wheels in the process. Triple stables for Running with Cavalier coming in immediately.
Yeah, and the question is, does Dark have enough crossbows forward to fight off triple stable Cavaliers? Because he had split off a few crossbows to go to the right and help Repard deal with these Saracen crossbows. And those Saracens are getting pretty far into that base, denying a lot of farms from Repard.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Not just idle time, but that's probably like 300 wood about spent on farms that are now idle and not doing anything for Repard.
Exactly. Market is also delayed/denied, and the Knights will try to jump on the crossbows, but the Knights don't even have +2 defense. So this is not going to be an amazing fight here for Repard by any means.
Yeah, it won't be amazing, but he will push the crossbows back and he will buy himself some more time.
Will he? That's a big question mark.
He's got his 3rd stable up, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. That's 7 on food with no +2 defense. That's the problem he's facing. He can't even produce knights consistently, let alone get the defense upgrade. And I'm starting to wonder if he has just forgotten about this one, because he's definitely taking some fights that he maybe shouldn't.
And now he's taking some really bad fights. He's trying to get this combination with Dark's crossbows, but Dark didn't really have many crossbows over there.
Yeah, this is all fine for Rice here. He might lose his crossbows, but the value that he's destroying is enormous. And look at Running destroying all his walls on the left side to open up the place for the Paladins. That may have been a little too excessive. He just destroyed all his walls.
You do have to wonder how experienced is Rise with managing the Saracens' economy behind this, because you have sold your market, which gives you a very nice timing for your resources, but it is, in the long term, less efficient than just adding villagers and managing your economy like normal. And yeah, he is only on 4 farms.
Well, with Saracens, you might be able to do it. He's coming in with the 2nd TC. What's the difference, though, is that Dark and Repard will move to the middle for additional town centers. And that means that they will have a very, very strong foothold over there, unlike their opponents.
That's true, but it's also a bit of a trade-off. If you put your TC in the middle to take the gold, you're not going to be taking wood. And while you still have a decent amount of gold in your base to mine, it can be pretty risky to put so much of your economy in one area where you can only gather one resource instead of being able to manage your villagers and distribute them as needed.
True. The danger here is that Repard's cavalry numbers aren't impressive and he's missing crucial upgrades, especially +2 defense. The Cavalier for running are much better right now. They have +2 defense, +1 attack.
Yep, +2, +1.
Exactly, and they also have 2 extra attack over knights, so currently the army of Running and Rice is much stronger, I believe, and they might be able to catch those crossbows, maybe even deny this TC.
Yeah, that TC, only 2 villagers building it. It's not going to go up in time.
And now I think Rice has to focus down the knights, because those don't have defense upgrades. And the quick walls will also fail here for Dark. This is a perfect fight here for Running and Rice.
Yeah, this team being just a bit too ambitious and greedy, putting those TCs down in the middle.
A deer was also killed by that Cavalier, and the yellow TC might go up here. Looks like no one cares about that last villager. Okay, now the crossbows move in.
Oh yeah, the village is going down finally. That's a DAP TC right there.
Exactly. There is gonna be a third TC coming in here for Rice. You're gonna have to start moving into the middle for gold. Probably with Saracens as well. Because while you have the market, you probably prefer to just buy resources with gold. And that's why Saracens could be a fun civ here. Because you can just keep buying resources.
And pressure the TCs.
Exactly. And with the Cavalier in here as well, Repard not having fletching on that TC, those really can't do much against the Cavalier. That's also 6 villagers inside that TC that could go down with this.
Yeah, things are not looking good for Dark and Repard here.
They indeed don't. Crossbows will finish off the TC, and looks like the Cavalier will jump on the crossbows, though the villagers will survive, so that's a positive here.
And now will survive and get that TC and those sheep. But, I mean, he's at risk of having those sheep get stolen, or at least killed.
Yeah. He's taking a beautiful fight here, though. Keep in mind that he was Tatars with Tumbling, and he's got the heal bonus as well, so he took down quite a lot of Cavalier here. This might have been an overextension from Running, fighting up hills here.
It might have been, and he'll lose the Cavaliers. And we're going to see lots and lots of archery ranges from Dark. We saw that with him as the Vikings earlier. Now he's going to be taking advantage of that thumb ring and just add as many crossbows as he can, trying desperately just to retake the middle.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that Tatars don't have Arbalests, so at some point Dark has to switch into Cav Archers, whereas on the other side Rice can just keep massing crossbows and go for Arbalest eventually.
Yeah, and we're going to see another TC here going down from Dark. Both those TCs from both players that were placed in the middle have now gone down.
And that means that the clock is ticking really badly for Repard and the Dark over here, because they don't really have a lot more gold left to play around with.
They don't. You only have 6 tiles per player. And of course, the Saracens player has been using the market so much, you're probably not going to be able to sell resources either.
Exactly, but it looks like we have the decisive fight over here. Crossbow numbers are just massively in the favor of Rice, and it looks like they're not ready to give up on this one just yet. The first 2 games looked grim for them, but this one is definitely going in their favor, and there is the GG.
Indeed. GG right there. I thought it was looking pretty bad for Rise at the start when he lost all those crossbows to the scouts, but they were able to come back from that.
It did. But Repard also got punished by those crossbows early on, because he went very heavy to scouts, so sure, he was able to pick off those archers, but he paid the price because he was kind of late to castle, and he just didn't have the knights or the chance to get +4 defense or +2 defense before the crossbows arrived.
Yeah, and I much prefer the way Rise built his TC here, going towards the front of his base on the wood before overextending down into the middle of the pit, instead of going straight for the gold in the middle. I guess he is pretty lucky that the gold did spawn on the front of his base. I can't actually see if that's a gold or a stone on the other side of the TC.
That's a gold. That's a gold.
Oh yeah, I can see it just peeking out behind the TC. Oh wait, no, I can't. That's the TC architecture. I'm going to trust that it's a gold. I don't know if I can click on it and capture it.
It's a gold. The 2 stones are at the back, so that's a gold.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
Also, I think the
Yeah.
goat has a slightly different model than stone piles. So by the silhouette, you
That's
can tell
true,
it's
it
gold.
does. I've never tried to tell gold from stone by looking at only the outlines before, but that's a good point. Let me switch to.
So we have Saracens being a victory over here. Berbers gone now for Repard. Tatars will also be gone for Ybati over here. And we're gonna have a victory with Burgundians. So
Saracen Burgundians won. Let me check off some of these things. They had lost with the Chinese and the Slavs, and then they lost with Byzantines and Burmese. But they won finally with Saracens and Burgundians. A very interesting civ combination.
exactly, they must be making cavaliers.
Cavaliers and camels. The Saracens player makes the camels.
All right, so this means we're going to one of the home maps of Ybati. Both of those maps are super open and aggressive. River Belt is very cutthroat, whereas Cape of Storms is slightly slower, but it's also considered a very open map. Usually, Cape of Storms is a place where Turks were used extensively because you can go heavy on scouts and then get free light cav. Whereas for Riverbelt, I can see Khmer working for serious consequences just to be able to jump into houses.
Yeah, both Cape of Storms and Riverbed are kind of weird maps that don't play out like a standard map like Golden Pit does.
All right, are you ready with game number 4?
All right, I will be in 1 second. Let me switch my. I need to have like a between game scene that doesn't show the Rex. I'm just gonna have a black window. Oh, error replaying game. Replay stopped. Thank you, D.
Looks like we are going to Riverbelt in this one, so Dark and Report probably want to play probably the most open map of the entire tournament.
All right, I am paused at 1 second. Let me go back to my capture age scene. And whenever you're ready, give us a countdown.
All right, I'm at 2 seconds, and let's do a countdown with 3, 2, 1, and go. So welcome to Riverbelt over here. This map was made specifically for Empire Wars Duel 1, and we saw a lot of super aggressive games over here. Players spawning very close. There is shallows in the middle for potential demo shots, and you already see there is a scout scuffle on the left side.
There is, and Dark is flaring everything. These players are flaring a lot at the beginning of this game, trying to communicate, I guess.
Yeah, it is really important to get that early kill on the opponent's scout, or potentially team up your scout and try to pick off a villager early on, as it looks like Rice is gonna keep that scout alive. We are going to have him as Britons in green. Running is playing Turks in blue. And we're gonna have Vietnamese and Bulgarians for Repard and Dark. Which of these two civs you prefer?
I think Vietnamese and Bulgarians kind of are a more natural cavalry and archer combination. But Britons and Turks, I think they're just... I kind of individually like the civs more.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Britons will have the faster working ranges, which can be very helpful in such an aggressive map, but obviously Vietnamese have better archers. And Bulgarians, it looks like Repart is also doing archer, so it's double archer play from Dark and Repart here now. That is a surprise.
Yeah, and well, if we get to the late game, of course, the Turks will have the gunpowder bonus too, so they'll have extra fast-producing hand cannons.
If that's needed. Looks like running is going archers and scouts over here, and we might just see two separate 1v1s, one on the north and one on the south, as things shape out.
Yeah, and no player going for any type of demo ship in the middle so far, just completely focusing on land.
Exactly. The reason why that middle area could be so important is because it's very easy to get a good surround over there. There is not really anywhere to run there. So if you move there to the middle, you are in the risk of losing your army. Looks like Repart is chasing Running's archers, but that's just a trap here. That is a massive trap, and with scalebarding, those scouts have 4 pierce armor for running. So they have the same pierce armor as knights.
Yep, and it does give them a pretty good boost going scouts against an archer opening in the early game for the Turks.
And now we have a stable being added for Repart. Obviously, cheaper blacksmith upgrades helps him a lot here, but he's just behind in army numbers. 2 archers, 1 spearman, versus 6 archers and 3 scouts here.
Yeah, he is. Interesting to see the archer opening from the Bulgarians when there's no way they'd ever transition that to something else in the Castle Age naturally.
I kind of feel like this could be a Cav Archer play on the north by both players eventually. Bulgarians have pretty decent CA to work with. Defensive tower coming up on the gold and the wood just in time. That is a life-saving tower right there.
Have to run back. And lots of damage on those scouts under the TC and the tower fire there. Although they are Turks, so they didn't take as much as any other civ would have.
Exactly, there's a need for a spearman there to help out, otherwise there will be villager casualties, and there are.
There's one.
Plus an archer.
Yeah, one of the things you can do with Turks is just run your scouts underneath the TCs, because you only take 2 damage per arrow.
Looks like the left side is gonna have a bit of a scuffle as well. There is some skirms in here for Rice, something that Dark doesn't have, but Dark is on triple ranges, his opponent is only on 2, and Vietnamese archers also have more health.
Yep, and always awkward for the Britons player to be going for the skirmishers, because they don't get the range bonus like the archers do.
Exactly, and I also think that Vietnamese have a slightly better cavalry play in Castle Age than Britons do. They do have access to bloodlines, so
That's true.
If this is like 2 separate 1v1s, then Rice going heavy on skirmishers could be a problem, because Dark could just go for knights much easier than his opponent could in the...
It is kind of hard to transition to knights if you're investing into 3 ranges, though, because you do really need to do both blacksmith upgrades for the knights to be effective.
That's true, as we do have the scouts and archers trying to break into the base of Repart here. Some nice last-second walls to save the day for now.
Nice market wall there.
Exactly. And as long as there is nothing that deals with those skirmishers, Rice will be able to keep Dark's army in check. Looks like Rice and Dark will be the first players to click up to Castle Age here.
And it's kind of expected from the archer players. You really want to get that power spike as soon as you can with the crossbows.
That's quite a few scouts over there for running, and the good news for him here is that now that he has invested into bloodlines, he can just continue on with those scouts, because he's just going to have a light cav upgrade anyways, so...
And if you look at the economies of these players, Rise is getting doubled by scouts here.
That's a good decision, I think, from Dark and Repard, and not something that Running and Rice were preparing for. Those scouts...
Yeah, that deals with the skirmishers.
Yeah, those
and as
scouts...
I was going to say, Rise had not been adding farms under his TC, so he has nothing really to garrison with and shoot at the scouts.
Yeah, Rice hasn't been adding a single farm, actually. Where is his food coming from? It's coming from fishing, something that we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah, on the outside of the map. Wait, he has 2 fishing ships. Looks like Dark is just docking, doesn't have any fish out. Repard has 5 fishing ships. He has a big fish economy, and Running has 3.
Archers now from Dark hitting the base of Running. Running's forces have been cleaned up inside of the base of Repard, but Repard has lost some vills in this one. So, Repard losing 6 villagers far from ideal. And overall, Running and Rice actually lead in villager kills.
Yeah, and going for 3 ranges here from Dark might have given him the upper hand in the archer numbers, but I think that really delayed his dock, whereas going for only the 2 ranges and a few skirmishers let Rise get that dock up much earlier.
Exactly. Still, he is the first player to Castle Age, and with that many archers, that can swing the battle in his favor very, very nicely over here. Villager count slightly better for serious consequences, but Rice is just going to click up to Castle Age, whereas Dark is almost up. Although he's about to lose all those archers.
Scouts.
Oh, that could be a disaster.
Those archers will do 1 damage to those scouts.
That's the worst possible timing there for Dark. He's gonna try and save this one, but as he's getting up, he is gonna get most of those archers killed. Scouts from Repard are trying to help, but at this point, most of those archers are dead.
Yeah, he does get a few Vill picks, though, is trying somewhat to salvage that.
Yeah, and now he's got the +2 attack at least. Still, I mean, this is still the same amount of Pierce Armor as Knights would have, so this is a surprisingly good fight here for Running, for Feudal Age units versus Castle Age ones. And all those crossbows are going down the drain now, giving a chance for Rice to walk straight into the base of Dark.
Oh, look at that. He is going straight in, but it is feudal units against crossbows, and if those units get trapped, the crossbows could clean them up with a bit of micro. These are Vietnamese crossbows with more HP. And here come a couple scouts too.
There's a couple of skirms helping out. Dark wisely focuses them down, so it looks like both archer players will have their armies cleaned up over here.
Yeah, that's just a bit of an overextension there from Rise. It looked like he might have been able to get some villager kills, but some nice quick walls and some nice usage of these 3 archery ranges. Yeah, you always have to be aware if you're diving someone's base, how many military buildings do they have producing? If they have 3 ranges and you don't have a large army, they're going to be able to clean you up pretty quickly.
Still, it looks like the 2 cavalry players now actually become true cavalry players, giving up on the archer plays. And we're just gonna have a full cavalry flood over here. Looks like numbers are in the favor of Repart here, though, although reinforcements come in much more easily for running.
Yep. And if we check the upgrades, both players do have all the upgrades from Feudal Age, it looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, nope, we don't have the attack upgrade from the Turks player.
That is a massive problem, because the extra pierce armor doesn't help against scouts here, so forging is much needed. One thing that's interesting is that no one is really bothering attacking anyone on water, so that's just a completely patient and slow fishing over here.
Yeah, they're all fishing in peace, and Dark still only has 2 fishing ships, compared to Repard, who just has, what now, 8 fishing ships, 7 or 8 fishing ships out on the water. He's actually going to need to start moving his docks soon. He's running out of space to gather fish.
Yeah, Ballistics coming in here for Rice right now. Ballistics is also coming in for Dark, as looks like really no cavalry player is thinking about going up just yet, but Repard is closer to that.
Let me know, what time are you at right now? I think my game runs
16:08.
Alright.
So, Castle Age just now coming in here for Repard in this one, whereas we also have Dark breaking into the base of Rise now, potentially. So,
yeah,
things are getting heated up.
There, though.
Indeed. Rise's army is at the base of Repard, so he doesn't have an army to defend with, but currently he seems to be safe. Those crossbows with ballistics and 8 range, they are here to pick off villagers, and they might be able to do it on Dark space, actually.
Yep, and surprisingly still running around with scouts and not light calves. At, what, 17.5 minutes into the game, he's still in the Feudal Age.
Yeah, he's about to click up right now, which obviously is going to help a lot, because Repart has invested a lot into his scouts, but those scouts will soon become obsolete. Looks like they want to jump these crossbows.
Look at this Rise's army kind of out of position without running scouts nearby, as Running had ran back towards his base, and all these crossbows should be cleaned up from Rise.
Exactly, that's what Repard was waiting for. He sacrificed a couple of vills, but now the best thing that Rise could do is potentially trade off those crossbows to the crossbows of Dark here, because the scouts will be meaningless soon, but the archers won't. On the other side, look at that cleanup by running on the crossbows.
Yeah, both archer players just getting cleaned up when they're trying to move out, but Dark kind of has the bigger, massive crossbows here that can deal with the Turks player before the light cav upgrade comes in.
Yeah, and all those scouts went down before the light or the free light cav would come in, so that definitely hurts. There's also some fire galleys now popping out from Repard to try and push the fishing economy of Running and Rice over here. Crossbows from Dark still alive here at the back of Rice's base.
Yep, still alive, still trying to find areas to poke. There is a nice tower there from Running that'll keep his gold safe.
Yeah, ecos are very, very close over here, as War Galley also comes in from Repart, so he wants to clean up the opponents from the water, and that may be helpful, because there's a lot of gold on the outside. That's something that we haven't talked about, so you will have to move there eventually in a long game.
Yeah, and there goes all of Running's fishing ships. And at the same time, Dark is pushing the front of Rise's base, and that's where Rise's gold is. We saw at the start of the game, he put the archery ranges at the top of his base near the shallows, but that leaves the left side of his base exposed with only a palisade wall.
Exactly, and Rice currently doesn't really have a reliable gold income, so he can't really produce crossbows. That's why he's outnumbered 34-5 in what is a match point game.
It is. I don't know how he could continue producing unless he makes a hard switch into skirmishers, as we've seen 4 ranges now from Dark just to keep pumping those crossbows out.
Yeah, the wood price is also all the way down, so it's really hard now to get any kind of gold income, and Rice is forced to mass migrate.
Oh no.
Oh,
And
that's a
even
disaster.
as Rise is running his villagers, he ran into those crossbows from Dark and lost a few as he's migrating.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Their eco is collapsing now. Suddenly there's a 20 villagers difference, and that might be enough to seal the deal. Lumber camps being deleted to allow free passage for the villagers, but at this point, Dark is more than happy to trade those crossbows to
and here
Wills.
come the knights on the other villagers. They're gonna block the lumber camp.
And there is the knights. That is indeed a GG. Running is wishing good luck next to their opponents. Dark and Repard looking strong over here as Ybati moves on to the main event as the first team qualifying. Congratulations to them. How are your feelings about this set? What was the main problem here for Running and Rice?
I feel like they didn't quite have as good of a start on this map as they would have liked to, and then I feel like they didn't have good civ picks for the Forest Pond map.
Yeah, that probably was an extremely important game, and also maybe Arabia. So I think both games, Arabia and Forest Pond, where they lost in the first two games, they actually had the civ disadvantage. So maybe part of this was better drafting for Dark and Repard.
Yeah, that's a good point. If there's ever a closed map like Forest Pond in the map pool, picking Spanish is just such a strong choice, because if you can force it to go late game, you can force it into a situation where your trade bonus wins you the game.
All right, that concludes the first set of the day, but you're going to be staying with me here for another one. Set. We'll probably take about a 5 minutes break, and then we'll continue with the second set of the day.